Urban Wall Street Project. I'm your host, Earl Christian III, and you're tuned into part 2 of When the Government Broke, an introspective into Spike Lee's When the Levees Broke, regarding, Hurricane Katrina disaster. On our previous showing, we discussed government, since they seem to be at the nucleus of the whole drama and the controversy, and breaking it down in the most literal sense of what it means and understanding what the word government means. We talked about the word minority and how that language damages us, and it's very important for us to understand that. For those of you who were not with us last week, let me just give you a quick breakdown. We all say the government failed us. Where's my government? Where's our government? Well, understand that government, in its most literal sense, is the political direction and control exercised over communities, societies, and states. The political direction and control exercised over communities, societies, and states. That's what government means by definition. Look it up. See, it's very important that we understand language and what words mean, because words are only going to be executed according to the meaning that they have. Nowhere in the definition of the word government that I found does it say to represent and take care of the people. It says to direct and control. So as we look at Hurricane Katrina and when the levees broke and just the disaster that destroyed New Orleans and destroyed forever hundreds of thousands of lives that can never be repaired or regained, we have to truly understand the world that we're living in. Like I said, this is part 2, so we're going to reiterate a few things that we discussed last week for those of you who weren't able to be a part of it with us. And we're going to talk about a few more things and get into a little bit more in depth, and then truly try to understand what the problem was and why there needs to be some form of urban fund. And urban not meaning a black fund. Urban means individuals who are under the foot of those who care less. We are considered minorities. So let urban mean the minority community. If you're in a minority community, then you represent urban, as I projected. We're not minor. So never subscribe to the word minority again. By thine own words will you be condemned. If you tout the word, I'm a minority, you're saying, I'm minor, I'm not important. I'm minor, I'm not important. I know my rights. Things that's not really important, things that are minor, their rights really don't matter much. So you have to change your way of thinking. A lot of people expect it to be taken care of. Government's supposed to take care of us. Some people say yes, some people say no. I personally feel I'm supposed to take care of myself. We have to understand something. From a global perspective or a worldly or national perspective, they should take care of you as you feel. I feel like we should take care of ourselves. Because think about this. What if government decided to completely break? What if the government snapped like the levees snapped? What would happen then? What would we do then? Who could we depend on then? Now, some people might sit at home and say, oh, that won't happen. The government's never going to break. The government's going to be there. No one would ever think that an American city would be flooded out completely and the government wouldn't respond for 5 days and the president wouldn't get there before 12. No one would ever believe that. That would never happen. It would never happen. Well, we know now. And we've always said, never say never. Because anything is truly possible. Anything can happen. And it did happen. So I continue to feel for my people in the struggle. In New Orleans specifically. And everywhere. Because those who are under the control and direction of the government, you are not driving. It's like being in a car and you want to go left, but you have no say. If you're sitting in the passenger seat, you can say all you want, where you want to go. Go this way, turn here. I want to stop here, I want to stop here. If the driver does not have those intentions, your requests mean nothing. And if you're sitting in the back seat, please, no one even sees you. Definitely don't hear you. We're sitting in the back seat, my people. And because we're in the back seat, we weren't heard. Our cries weren't heard. Our concerns weren't heard. But let's talk about it. Let's talk about government. How did this happen in New Orleans? We all have our theories. We all have our reasons. It was an explosion. It was conspiracy. The governor knew. The mayor knew. The reality is this. We all, for all intents and purposes, knew. And I don't say we, you sitting at home, myself. I didn't know. But the people in New Orleans, the federal government, they knew that that was a problem. The saddest thing to me is that here you have hundreds of thousands of people displaced, homes lost, lives destroyed, uncountless levels of mental trauma, depression, devastation, pain, suffering, anguish. And maybe I missed it, but I still don't know who has claimed and accepted responsibility. When terrorist attacks occur, we want to find out who claimed it. Well, who's claiming responsibility? Not the mayor, not the governor, surely not the president, surely not FEMA. So who's claiming? Surely not the Corps of Engineers that produced it, the levees. No one is claiming responsibility. No one is stepping up for the responsibility. No one's responsible for it. So are we led to believe that, hey, it just happened? No, that didn't just happen. In America, we teach our kids, listen, when you do something wrong, you step up and be a man. Accept your responsibilities. Accept your flaws. Who's stepping up to accept the flaw of the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina? Who's stepping up to accept the flaw? No one. In the beginning of this episode and the previous episode of this two-part series, I put a topic or a statement, if you will, on top in the front of the screen. And it read something like, remember the Million Man March? Because it's such a monumental time. I remember the Million Man March. I remember the pride that we felt. I remember the love. I remember the support. I remember the camaraderie that movement was spawning, or should have spawned, or had definitely generated on that major day, October 15th, 1995. People came from all over the world because we were tired. We were sick and tired of being tired. And we knew that we were greater than what we were getting. And we showed that in record numbers down at the mall in D.C. When the minister asked every household to represent it to hold up $1, easily dollars went in the air. $5 from some individuals. Over $2 million was collected that day. Now just think about this though. The Million Man March, in my perspective, in my opinion, I was under the assumption that it was intended to spawn a movement. So here's something to think about, as you saw earlier. If each urban household represented at the march, which was over 1 million, made a conscious commitment to change the world, and each mailed $1 a month to an urban fund for us, on the 10-year anniversary, that fund would have had over $20 million growing from us, for us. We would have been able to take care of ourselves when that disaster struck. That's real. Think about that. A quarter a week from every urban household. Now, whether you're unemployed, employed, part-time employed, every household has a quarter a week. But see, we don't think like that. We're programmed to think opposite of that. $120 million. So let's think about that. $120 million. Hypothetical scenario. But $120 million could have been sitting in a fund. And now if there was interest, minimum 3% on $120 million or growing, it would be well over that. You're probably maybe close to $170 million. From us, for us. Just as insurance, if you will. Not to negate the government, not to negate what our tax dollars go to, because it should come back. We should be recipients. We should benefit. But in the event Murphy's Law kicks in, and the person that's supposed to provide the revenue does not, should not we be self-sustaining? So with $120 million, if it's in that Astrodome, I believe that's the dome, or the dome in New Orleans, where over 15,000, 20,000 people were living in horrid, torrid conditions, probably worse than had they probably stayed in their homes. If there were 20,000 people, and we were able to give $20,000 to each household to to get back on their feet, to relocate, to find loved ones, to try to make up for the losses. $20,000 times 20,000 people. It's roughly about $4 million. $4 million. We're talking about $120 million. So at $120 million, we could have given well over $20 million. 20,000. That's a lot of money. But that's just something to think about. That's just something to think about. And I'll say it again. $4 million. 20,000 people with $20,000 vouchers each. $4 million. We got $116 million left and growing. That $4 million wouldn't even be the interest. So in all actuality, we could have saved our people from interest on money sitting in the bank. It's real. But we have to think like that. Don't think that the way I'm speaking is not thought of. It's just not thought of in our community because we're not taught that way. We're not conditioned that way. But that's what communities need because government does not provide revenue. Government sees what's important. Remember, last episode, money is allocated based on what the government deems is important. We are minorities as we're classified. Not myself, but we're all in this together. So we are classified as minorities, which we should never subscribe to. But I will not digress. So if we're a minority, you're not important. You're less than. You have no political power. You have no representation. Why am I allocating money to an individual or group or people with no power and representation and of little importance? You wouldn't. You wouldn't spend your money on something that you felt was frivolous or of little importance. Human lives are important to that human. They're not important to a machine. We talked earlier about the different violations government officials make. Some of those violations, individuals would never be able to get jobs with. Some of the violations that our politicians, our lawmakers, our leaders, the people we chose are committing. You got to think about it, my people. You really got to think about it. So what do? Well, think about this. Here's the Urban Wall Street Project. Imagine the Urban Wall Street Project or a concept. Think of the concept. We all left Washington, D.C. We all went back to New Orleans. Surely 10,000 people from New Orleans were in D.C. Probably more than that. But just imagine if 10,000 representatives from the 9th Ward, New Orleans, went to D.C., decided, you know what, we're going to change this area of our block. Because remember, the Black Wall Street of the early 1900s, 15,000 people, 36 square blocks. So 15,000, 20,000 people in the 9th Ward, 36 square blocks, it can happen. Those 20,000 people go back and start rebuilding. They could have made a difference. But let's think about this. Let's bring it closer to home because we're talking about when the levees broke, when government breaks. What happens to the people when the government breaks? What happens to the people when the government is broken? Because for all intents and purposes, when it comes to sustaining and maintaining and providing for the underprivileged and the lower class, the government is on a perpetual break, in my opinion. Think about this. As over 500,000 displaced New Orleans residents begin to rebuild their lives. Because the reality is, if you're still here, no matter what the turmoil is you're going through, those residents still have to rebuild their lives. You're talking about 500,000 people. That's a lot of people, and it may be more than that. But I'm going to use that number. Imagine a more conscious and a proactive, because that's what it's going to take, a level of consciousness and proactiveness. Movement in which they maximize future urban spending. You know what? We're going to be more conscious of how we spend and the services and the companies we subscribe to. Because it seems like our money goes out and takes care of everybody. But then when the ball drops and we need it, no one's there. There's no companies coming to the aid. There's no one there for us. Barely us. We can't even be there for us because we spend all our money making everybody else wealthy. So as they subscribe to a movement to maximize future urban spending by becoming a part of, if you will, a survivors alliance. Because that's surely what the people who made it through Katrina are right now. They are true survivors. The people who plan to come back and rebuild their community, they are true survivors. And they've bonded, and they've formed alliances. Now, whether those alliances become monumental and major and economic infrastructures of strong and great stability, that remains to be seen. But there is a survivor alliance. So imagine a survivor alliance. And as communities rebuild They subscribe to everyday services. We got to get a telephone again. We got to get cable again. I got to get my health care again. I got to get whatever it is. We're going to subscribe to services to get our lives back to some form of normalcy. Well, as these communities begin subscribing and rebuilding to everyday services, imagine if done in a cooperative fashion, a conscious cooperative fashion, and an internal fund will be produced, redirecting and reallocating over $5 million. Now, 500,000 people. Now, imagine 500,000 people subscribe to Vonage, Bell South, Skype, the Urban Wall Street. $20 for subscribing. This community needs money. They're not asking us to cut a check. They're not asking for a government handout. They're spending the money with us. So why not give a little bit back? Isn't that what a rebate is? Well, imagine a rebate, if you will, a rebate on the money that we spend. Because, see, that's what New Orleans needs. But New Orleans represents more than just one city destroyed by a hurricane, by flooding. New Orleans can happen to any city underprivileged in urban America in some form or another, whether it's education, whether it's drug. They flood our streets with drugs. Our streets are flooded with guns. Our streets are flooded with negligence. Our streets are flooded with envy. Our streets are flooded with illiteracy. Our streets are flooded with miseducation. So our streets are flooded. Katrina was just a tangible, direct representation of flooding, completely destroying and obliterating. But are we not being flooded and destroyed slowly every day in our communities, in our homes? I believe we are. There is no one to come to the aid of urban America. Who should? Who should? We all say, it's my block, it's my community, it's my neighborhood, it's my neighborhood. My denotes ownership. When you buy a car, you say, this is my new car. And you take pride in your new car. You keep it washed. You keep it clean on the inside. You keep it smelling fresh. You keep the rims right. You keep the grill right. You keep the seats. You're putting TVs in it. Because this is my car. You have pride in your car. Why don't we have that same pride in ourselves? We spend $200 per rim. We buy a car and put 4 rims on it. We spend $1,000 on rims for a car that can be towed or destroyed. But we won't spend $50 on a book that can forever change not just your life, but the life of your child and children around you. It's real. We have it. We're intelligent people. We've just been misguided. And through no fault of our own, we can't really get our way back. But anybody gets lost. The bottom line is, it's not about how you fall. It's how fast you get back up. We've fallen as a people. We have fallen as a people. But that's not to say that we can't stand back at the rise. Maya Angelou says, and still I rise. Those individuals in New Orleans are resilient. Some people did not leave when weren't going to leave and maintained. Some people left and are coming back. That's the resiliency of the human spirit, black, white, Asian, or other. You can survive if you are resilient. It's up to us. I live in urban America every day. I'm building every day. I'm aspiring every day. But I recognize that I'm in a position. And when you recognize you're in a position to help other individuals, you have an obligation to them whether you want to or not. So the Urban Wall Street Project is more than just a movement for New York City or the Bronx. This is a nationwide movement because we are suffering, we are struggling, and we are going through it in every city. How will the people in New Orleans really rebuild? I mean, we talked about it, it's sad, people, but think about it. How are those thousands of people going to get their lives back? See, unless you're one of those people, it may not be on your mind as much. But right now, you sitting at home, there's someone who a year ago was sitting at home. Or actually, a year ago, they lost their home. So we feel for them. We still talk about it. But are you willing to send $1 a month to a New Orleans fund? And if not, why? Are the people in New Orleans any less valuable than you? Are their communities any less valuable than ours? Are their children's futures any less valuable than yours? You don't have a quarter a week? Imagine that. A quarter a week. from 1 million people. $120 million. That number boggles my mind. And it should boggle yours. But I hope it boggles it enough to the point that you reach out to the Urban Wall Street Project. You come to our site. You call our telephone number. You reach out to your neighbors. You let them know, listen, it's a movement going on. There's an economic movement to change the socioeconomic status of urban America like never been seen before. It's a sad state, and over 100 years ago, one of the prolific eras in African American history, being the Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, was destroyed and never ever remotely duplicated. Yeah, we all kind of getting our own money. We getting in, we all give away. But imagine maximizing the dollar, because you know, if you've been watching the Urban Wall Street Project, it's all about maximizing the urban dollar. We don't need a handout. Like the people in New Orleans said, we don't need a handout from the government. Just give us the royalties on our oil that we produce, which 30% of the country uses. Just give us the royalties on what's due us. We'll do our own thing. We can do it. But it's truly up to us. $1 a week, $1 a month, $1 a day, man. What do you have, man? Because I'm telling you, I watched the documentary, and I listened to the people in New Orleans, and I look at this devastation, and I talk to people who have visited the region, and, you know, you're talking about, people say, you know, keep hope, you gotta hope, you just gotta hope, you gotta hope. You know what was on somebody's house that was flooded out, but you were able to see it? Big black letters. Hope is not a plan. Hope is a non-action verb. If you hope to get a job, but you don't go look for one, guess what? You'll stay unemployed. If you hope to pass a test, but you don't study, you know what's going to happen? You're going to fail that test. If you hope to have a successful marriage, but you cheat, and you're an infidel, and you lie, and you betray, you deceive, you're vile, you know what's going to happen? You won't have a successful marriage. There's no such thing as hope without action, without conscious commitment. So what are you hoping for? I'm hoping that we start thinking. I'm hoping that we don't let remotely happen what happened in Katrina on any level, larger or smaller, in another urban city. It's happening every day. We see it on TV shows. We watch shows, but that's amazing. That's not a TV show. It's depicting somebody's real life. If man thought of it, he saw it somewhere more than likely. Somebody's experienced it. We got a lot of reality shows right now. A lot of reality shows. How about the reality of reality on reality TV? Not reality TV. It's edited. This is reality TV. I started talking 20 minutes ago. I'm still talking. No stop, no commercials, no cuts, no edits. This is real. This is real. New Orleans is real. Starving children are real. Displaced homes are real. Lost homeland is real. Loss of culture is real. Those are the things that's real. That's reality TV. What we going to do, y'all? I want you to know that this is not a game. I want you to know that the Urban Wall Street Project is going to come to your city. If you want the Urban Wall Street Project to come to your city. If you're sitting home watching and you feel this needs to be spoken about in schools, in daycares, in churches, in corporate boardrooms, in lunchrooms, in cafeterias, wherever, reach out to the Urban Wall Street Project. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you need. The conduit is here. I have created the conduit to change the economics of urban America. I can't do it by myself. It is not my intention to become a wealthy individual and everybody else is starving. That's not wealth. Wealth to me is when everybody's eating. You know, if you go to Bermuda, everybody's wealthy. My parents went on vacation, everybody's wealthy. There is no poverty. There doesn't need to be any poverty in America. America is one of the richest countries in the world. You have one individual worth billions of dollars. Other people worth hundreds of millions of dollars. How can you have one person on street A worth 100 million, other person on street B worth 0, and we can't meet in the middle? Here's a problem. Think about it. New Orleans was just a direct representation of what happens when the people are not taking care of themselves. New Orleans is a direct representation of what happens when the people are dependent on external entity, those subscribed to and though in theory are supposed to be there for the people, don't happen. Understand something? Governmental dependency rendered over 1 million people displaced and hundreds of lives lost and changed forever. Once again, truly, hope is not a plan. I hope you tuned into the Wall Street Project. I hope you're doing your due diligence. I hope that some of the things that I'm saying make sense to you and that's sparking something in you that makes you want to just get up and shout, I'm tired. I'm here, brother. Let's get it done. Are we going to spend $1 a month for the next 10 years and miss out on that $120 million? You think about it. My name is Earl Christian III. You've been watching the Urban Wall Street Project. Theme, topic, When the Government Broke. An ode to Spike Lee's When the Levees Broke, Hurricane Katrina. Tune in next time. We keep bringing it to you. We keep giving you real reality TV. I hope you be blessed and well. Keep your head up. Just understand. I'm feeling you every day that I wake. I pray the Lord that my love you take. But you don't see what you're doing to me. If my heart's a lock, girl, then you are the key. I dream of you and I walking in the rain. I sing you roses, but you don't know my name. You don't understand. You don't understand how you make me feel. You don't understand. All I want to do is just keep it real. You don't understand how you make me feel. All I want to do is just keep it real. I watch you walk by my way. I try to speak, but the words I can't say. So tell me, girl, can this dream of mine come true? 'Cause all I can think of